Uh, well, while we're waiting, I need a chair that doesn't swivel because I move too much. But woo! Oh, whoa. That was not a smart idea for vertigo. Don't do that if you got vertigo, and if you don't, you will. Jeez, everything is still moving. Okay. I guess getting older has some disadvantages.
He's not acting close.
I'm surprised my dentures didn't fly out.
A lot of
Yeah, I
fun.
guess when you,
Yeah.
as you start to age, I was spinning in my chair earlier, and I was like, "Wrong move." Now my vertigo set off. Look at my camera guy is moving my mic.
Yeah,
Thinks I'm too
don't
loud.
spin. Don't spin.
So yeah, well, after I spin, it took me a while to get back to earth here. But as
Amazing.
soon as you hit a certain age, but today we got a great show because we have a great friend, a very powerful woman, mentor, just doing amazing things. And I can't wait to get started with her. But just some of the things is she's an entrepreneur, she's an author, a speaker, a business coach. You are also an executive member of the Maxwell leadership team, which is huge. And I know you do a lot with Maxwell, and you've done so much for the community. You go out and do a lot for businesses and empower women as well as men. So we're not going to leave everybody out, but in our industry, there are a lot of women who, uh, you know, man, they are so powerful, but they don't see it within themselves. And it
Mm.
takes people like you to drag that out because you're not only doing all these things that's stressing me out, a lot of things that you do, but you're also a mother, you're a wife, you're a grandmother, you enjoy life.
Hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Tina Black, an inspiration for all.
Thank
Welcome,
you,
Tina, to the
Julia.
show.
At first, I'm like, wait, who are you having on? Because you said we're going to welcome someone, and I got so excited.
Well, that someone is you.
Oh,
And
thank
and
you.
I got excited knowing you're going to be on
Oh,
today.
I love
So
that. Thanks for the invite. This will be a blast. It's always a blast talking to you, Julio. I'm always in stitches and my belly hurts. It's good core workout when I'm with you
your belly hurts because you're getting sick of me, or
from laughing so much every
isn't it
time I'm
great
with
that
you.
I love, that's, we were talking about that on my last shows. I love getting together with friends and just having a good laugh, a
Mhm.
good conversation. And we talked about it in our last show. And you and I, we disagree sometimes.
Oh,
It's part of life.
absolutely. Yeah.
Every time we see each other, we hug each other, we kiss each other. Your husband is absolutely wonderful, your family's wonderful, but we've never disowned each other. And
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
that's true friendship, and that's why I
Mhm.
love having these kind of people on the show like you and Kevin, and other people that are about to come on, is people that understand the value of other people, and you do that very well. Now, in saying that, you have some great books that you've written, um, and you keep on writing. I don't know how you do it. With my dyslexia, I try, and then I can't even read my own notes. But you have a few successful books, and all of them have the
Mm.
theme of be something, right? Be successful, be loved, be a winner, be a leader, be refreshed,
That
be
sounds like a good
amazing.
one.
Yeah, I mean, you just keep writing them. Why is that message important?
Yeah. It's interesting because every time that I would get up and speak, and funny, you were talking about, conversations on the phone with people. And I'm like, we need to record this phone conversation. I think that's how podcasts came about, right? Because
Yeah,
people were like, this is so good. All my friends and family and everyone I know needs to hear about this. My team needs to hear about this. But that's exactly why I started writing the book, Julio, because, even though I feel like I'm not really a writer, I find people that I can bring alongside me to help me through that process. It's so important. I know you've written a book as well too, and I love your book. You actually
yeah,
inspired me to write my book. And it's interesting because I started thinking, because my message has always been like, we have to stop doing and start being. And so that's why I started this be message, so to speak, of be a leader, be amazing, I have the book Be Uncommon, Be a Planner. My next one is going to be Married. So I never thought I would say that, Julio. I never would say thought I would have a book, but it was just like one kid in one of the Paul Mitchell schools. It was actually in one of the Ohio schools. I remember he yelled out and said, "Hey, is all of this information in a book?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not an author." And so, but then I was like, gosh, why am I not an author? And then people started asking me all over the country, just having that opportunity, like, is this in a book? Because I need this information. Is it written somewhere? And you need to have your message. Everyone has a message, right? But someone has to be able to have an opportunity to read that message too. You can't just give it because it's lost, right? You stand up and speak all the time. I know you do too. And I would stand up and speak. And then I thought, how am I going to help this to live and breathe so that they can always access this information? That's why. I'll
And they get to bring you home and still keep hearing you,
exactly. Yes.
and keep taking those notes, and I love that you keep doing that, but where do you find the time? I mean,
It's funny.
you're a busy woman. Where do you find the time?
You don't find the time, you make the time, like literally. And I
Wow.
say to people, I'm like, listen, I said, do you ever have a night where you can't sleep? Yes, we all do, right? Start writing your book. Stop taking sleeping pills. Write the book in the middle of the night. I literally wrote my book in the middle of the night because literally I would wake up and I'd be like, you know what? I can add some things to that book right now. And then when John Maxwell told us that that's exactly when he would write his book, he always still to this day, he sits with, a pad of paper by his bed. And when he wakes up, he starts writing. And so I realized, like, wow, okay, this is how he wrote his books. I guess I can do it too. What's my excuse, right? And so that's why I really just making the time. And then you get so excited once you get in the momentum and you hire a book coach. They keep you on target. It's always about that accountability anyway, right? And so they'll say, I need you to have this done by such and such date. And so, and I'll tell them, like, give me some deadlines, right? Because otherwise it's not going to get done.
Yeah, there's no importance in it. If I kept a book pad by my bed, I think my wife would think I'm critiquing her or studying her as she sleeps, and if I wrote in the middle of the night, it'd probably be why, be, tired would be my book. Be sleepy. Uh, but I do have those nights. You're right. You do. We all do.
Mm-hmm.
And then we walk around the house, you know, in a fog, trying to figure out how we can get to sleep. And some people do it by reading, and some people do it
Yeah.
by writing. And I admire that. I think that's wonderful. And I have tried to carry a notebook with me. Here's the thing: I can't read my notes. After I look at them at a day or two, I'm like, what the hell am I trying to write? So how do you keep that organized for somebody? Because
Mhm.
everybody has a book. You know that, Tina.
Yeah.
Everybody has a book in them.
Everybody does.
And
Mhm.
and even if they're not writing a book, if they were just writing a journal,
Yeah.
it turns into a book. So
Yeah.
how can you help people organize those thoughts a little better? Because people say, well, I get up and write, but then I have what they call writer's block. There's no such thing, right? You don't have to be perfect, I guess. I guess you just how do you do that?
Yeah. You know,
What's a discipline?
it's funny. My first book was actually based on, actually, a couple of my books were based on speaking events that I did. And so my keynotes, right? And so there's your book. Your keynote is your book. And so that's what I did. And then I compiled it and I had my book coach put it in Google Docs for me. And then so it's always living and breathing on Google Docs, right, on my laptop. And so I can type in there at any time. And then she'll put notes in it and say, you need to fix this. This doesn't make sense. Right. And, and
Like my
I'll
notes.
fix it. It's like, dang it. Yeah. And so the better the book coach, right, the better the book. Right. And so just constantly going back and someone kind of reading it that doesn't really know a lot about you too, so that they can, because who's going to read your book? People that don't know a lot about you or your message. So getting it to make sense. So a keynote, Google Docs, just going in there at all times, being able to write for you, like even just speaking into your computer, right? And let your book coach clean it up, right?
That's
Always
I,
have
I
an
I
editor.
did that with the first book.
Mm-hmm.
I actually
Yeah.
recorded because I am dyslexic,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I have a hard time reading my note.
Yeah.
Looks my notes. I have a hard time speaking too. I might be having a stroke here. But
Amazing.
that's now you know what my notes look like, right?
Yeah,
But
my
I
second
recorded
book,
it.
Be Uncommon, somebody had I didn't even like seriously, this is crazy. And I don't know if this has ever happened to you, Julio, but sometimes like you're kind of prepared for a message you're gonna give. So my daughter and I were up, were invited by a church to give a message, and it was on business. And so it's for entrepreneurs in business at a church event. And so we're on stage and we're giving this message. It kind of had a little bit of what I wanted to say. I didn't know exactly what I was going to say. You and I are very similar in that aspect. And all of a sudden, somebody started recording us. It was on Facebook Live. I'm like, oh man, like I didn't know this when it was recorded. And I said at the end, I said, can I get a copy of that? It was literally, I mean, seriously, I am, of course, a woman of God. So I'm a woman of faith. And so literally, I'm like, okay, I did not say this. Like, totally, the Holy Spirit had to speak through me. And so I said, I've got to get this in writing. So I sent that recording to my book coach and I said, I need you to type all of this out. I want to see if it's a book. And sure enough, it was. It took us about a year to kind of hone it and to make it our own, my daughter and I. But so we ended up writing that book together based on a speech that we did. And I'm like, wow, this definitely didn't come from me. This came from God. It was downloaded. And so that's been a huge seller for us. And it's something that we do quite a bit at speaking events for business women.
Now, I'm a great man of faith too, and
Mhm.
I don't know if they'll let me in church. I haven't tried. They did when I was younger, but I kept getting kicked out. I guess they didn't all want to get hit by lightning at the same time I did.
Well, maybe
Uh,
you're called to be a pastor then. You start your own church for all
no,
those misfits, right?
don't, don't laugh. I've
Yeah.
always thought about that, but
Yeah.
there's also scarcity in that. But you are a woman. I I think today you're afraid of saying anything, but you are a woman of great faith. And why is faith so important? I mean, I know, but for you, because a lot of people have lost that faith. I mean, you have the faith
Mhm.
to say, "Hey, I'm going to write a book. It may be great, it may not be, but you had the faith instead of the fear." How important is faith?
Oh gosh, Julio, you actually spoke into my life many years ago when I had realized that my faith is really what saved me. And so many, many years ago, I actually got up and spoke on one of your stages at one of your schools. And you may not even realize this, but just you speaking into my life and telling me I need to tell my story more because it was the first time I actually told my story. And so I didn't realize that faith had saved me in that moment. But when I was 16 years old, I was very depressive and I didn't know the Lord at all. So I never had gone to church. Speaking of church, right? Never stepped foot. Maybe once I might have stepped foot into a church, for a couple weddings, right? And so I really didn't know, the Lord at that time. And so I remember writing a suicide note to my family because I really didn't think that there was any reason for me to live. And thank God I didn't carry it through, as you could see. But I
Thank
have
God.
lived to tell that story, and to be able to tell that story. And so, but it wasn't until my sister had spoken to me about the Lord and how I can have a relationship with Him, not religion, but a relationship. And that's really seriously what saved me, and it made me who I am today. I wouldn't be the person that I am, without the Lord in my life, and literally saved me. Literally, because at that moment I thought, okay, I'm purpose to live. There's a reason that I'm supposed to be alive. And little did I know that I would be doing the things that I'm doing today. I would never have guessed it. If you would have talked to that Tina that was 16 years old at my parents' library desk, writing that note to my family, I saved that later. I told that story with tears coming down my eyes at your school for the first time. It just came out. Someone asked me a question and something came over me and I thought I need to tell that story right now. And I'm so glad I did, Julio, because I've been able to really speak to a lot of people over the years that have suffered from depression and anxiety as well.
Yeah, and I used to be afraid to tell people my faith. I modeled it, but I
Yeah,
used to be afraid to speak it because people always judge no matter what faith they come from.
right.
Even and I've even noticed some. new Christians that I've run into who had the same things that we had going on in our life, but are quick to judge us.
Yeah.
And I think that used to scare me. But you're right, there are a lot of young women out there and men,
Yeah.
a lot of people at 16 who think, wow, I'm worthless.
Yeah.
I don't have anything in me. I don't have anything to give. But you were awakened by giving your story. Why did it take you so long were you afraid to share that story?
I was ashamed. I was so ashamed because then at that point in my life, I was getting around what I thought to be like people who had it all together. Right. And so, people like yourself. And I'm like thinking, oh my gosh, these people have it all together. They don't need to hear my story of shame. Right. And because I literally had not forgiven myself up to that moment, for even having those thoughts, for myself. And so it took that forgiveness point for myself, Giulio. And I don't think you realize this, but you were the one who catapulted that into motion for me. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I didn't mean to, but hey, great. No, we all go. It's funny you said that people, you say like you look at people that have it all together.
Yeah.
Uh, the people
Mhm.
that look like they have it all together are a complete friggin' mess.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've been a mess somewhere that
Mhm.
help us put ourselves back together. And you got to find something that you can believe in
Yeah.
to, and look up to so that you can move forward. And thank God you did that because it would have been a waste to not have you around, because you are influencing a lot of women. So what would you say to young ladies like you, uh, who are going through these hard times?
Yeah.
Should they all keep it in, and this is the result. The result is sometimes suicides, drug overdose, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
what would you encourage them to do to find their inner strength? Right now, they're being misled,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry if you might feel a little bit different, but you hear as a woman, you need to be a bitch. You need to be
Mhm.
this. You need to show your strength. And it's putting a lot of pressure on people.
Yeah.
And you need to don't let anybody open the door for you. You can open your own door. I mean, there's a lot of confusion for young women out there today who I'll be honest with you. If it wasn't for the women in my life, my sisters, my mother, people like you. And I've been in the industry for 40 something years, surrounded by women who have
Mhm.
taught me and empowered me. If it wasn't for them, and you do look back, women were mistreated, were misguided, but these young girls are being misguided today.
Mhm.
Please give them a message of how they can wake themselves up and know that they have value, and they matter, and what they say matters, and no matter what they've been through, because I think if you keep it in,
Yeah.
it's even worse. So
Yeah.
give it
Yeah.
to them. I want you to awaken these young ladies, and because I see so much potential in a lot of them, but they cave into today's society, and after 2020, it's gotten worse. Let's
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but teach me.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that as women and men, of course, that are struggling with identity. We have an identity crisis, right? Of just full fledging, really saying, okay, this is who God made me to be. And so, like, looking back at that moment, I wasn't accepting that God was making me who I was at that moment. I wanted to be something else. And so I had, like, if you will, like envy and jealousy or comparison disease of like, oh gosh, I'm not as good as this person, and look at, she's got all kinds of boyfriends and blah blah blah, right? I was spewing that over my life. And it wasn't until the moment of just believing in myself of, hey, I was made the way I was supposed to be made. With all my flaws, everything that I have, I'm supposed to be made this way. And it's funny you said that it was the women in your life that spoke into you. And my mom, incredible woman, always taught me, Tina, God is love. Like, just love people. Like, she taught me love, right? But my dad, he believed in me. I was so blessed. And because he would be always like, oh, you can do anything you put your mind to, you can do anything. And so, but there was a moment in time of like, no, I can't, Dad. Like, you didn't trust your parents, like whatever they say, so you need
Yeah.
people. And I look back, and it was really men in my life that spoke into me, Giulio. It was men. And, I look back at my basketball coach. He believed in me before I believed in myself. I look at different bosses that I had. Was I mistreated sometimes? Yes. I remember my boss's son, right? He tried to come after me in a sexual way. I stopped him immediately. And I attribute that to my dad of like, hey, no, like
Yeah.
this is not who I am. Like, you step away from me. And I told his dad what happened, and I stayed working. He never did anything again, to me. But I love to be able to work with women who really struggle with low self-esteem, women and men. Because in this industry, we've got women and men. We know this. We have many people that struggle with low self-esteem. And I remember when said to us, we need to become motivational speakers in our schools, right? And so he said, just pick a chapter in my book, Be Nice or Else, and speak on it. And so I was like, oh, I struggle with low self-esteem, right? I struggle with low confidence. And so just coming up with like tips and tricks to help build that self-esteem. So from that day forward, that's what I've been working on. I'm still working on it. I'm going to tell you right now, I still struggle with confidence, Giulio. Try to get around people like yourself that build that back up in me, higher minded people that believe in me, right? And so when I talk to our students and people that really struggle, because it's kind of all of them, right? They're all the hands go up, and it just goes back to, okay, all right, well, let's work on what can we intentionally grow? Like, let's grow. Let's build a growth plan professionally, physically, intellectually, emotionally, spiritually. And so when I help them and I sit down with them and I say, okay, just a shift, like, where do you see the biggest shift that you can make right now? For me, Giulio, it was spiritual and physical. It was taking care of my health, right? Working out. That made such a big difference for me. This year I just hired a personal trainer. You'll appreciate that. So my guns are getting bigger, right? And I
You've
had to do
always been
that.
in top shape, so I don't care what anybody says. Every time I look at you, I'm like, damn, I got to get to the gym.
You're so funny. Yeah, and it's like, okay, what is it like? What are those non-negotiables that build up your confidence, right? And so for me, it was the gym, right? Personal trainer, health, and spiritual. So I make sure every single morning when I wake up, that's my focus, spiritually and physically, Julia. My first 2 to 3 hours now. There was a season where I could only do it for 20 minutes because I get it. You're busy, right? Doing things, just to give what you can. If it's 10 minutes, give 10. Once you start to build that momentum and you start to realize, wow, this is doing something for my confidence. I'm feeling a little bit more on top of the world, my happiness, my joy, right? Joy gives confidence. So bringing that in. And so just speaking that into people's lives really, and that's why all my books are workbooks, Giulio, because I don't want you to just read it and put it on a shelf. Like, you got to do the work. And it's like, learn a little, do a little. What can you do? What can you make in your life right now to make a
And
difference?
it's not like they have to complete the whole book in one night. I mean, they can do one work
Exactly.
program at a
A
time,
week.
even one, yeah, or even a month.
Yeah.
Let's
Even
but
a
at
month.
least get started.
Get
And
started.
I love that you said that you get up in the morning and you have your time.
Yeah.
I've had to learn to do that because I used to wake up to the phone ringing and stressing out
Yeah.
just from that ring.
Mm-hmm.
And I had intentions to go to the gym, do this, do that, and I found myself I stopped doing that for a while,
Yeah.
and I grew more depressed because let's
Mm-hmm.
say, even if we look like we got it together, we still have a lot of stresses. We
Yeah.
still go through things throughout our life.
Oh, yeah.
But one thing that really helped was working out, saying my prayer. I get up,
Mm-hmm.
I say my prayer, and I think it's because I'm getting older, and I know I'm getting closer to dying and closer to wanting to get into
Yep.
heaven.
Yep.
So you notice as we get older, we go to church more too,
Yeah.
and read the Bible even more.
And not just for funerals, Julia. We go to church more, not just for funerals.
Exactly. I just was watching a Christian comedian, which is funny. Now churches are having comedy,
I
and he
love
was talking
that.
about every couple of weeks they would have a funeral, and he was 7 years old. and he would see this body laying in the box, and they're like, they're in a better place. And he's like, what box did he live in before?
Yeah.
You know, he
Yeah,
just couldn't.
that's amazing. True
But you know what?
story.
I say my prayers to say, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Lord,
Mhm.
strengthen me today. Now, I don't go off and I don't push it on people. I don't, lay my, if they want to know why my life is so great, I'll talk about the wonders in my life, which is faith and
Yeah.
God and Jesus.
Mhm.
But then I go to the gym, just like you.
Mhm.
And that's because that's the best also medicine along with your faith, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Okay. But the gym just is the best medicine because when you feel good,
Yeah.
uh, uh, and you have that personal time. I love that you have that personal time. A lot of people don't, they're too busy about getting on text messages
Mhm.
or Facebook or whatever to state their case and their anger rather than going and blow it out at the gym or giving it away to their bigger spiritual. And for us, it's God saying, here's my
Mhm.
problem.
Mhm.
You help me. You take care of them, which He allows you to do,
Yeah.
which gives us the strength to keep moving on and focus on the great purpose. And you've put that great purpose because you not only sit here and write books. I'm not going to just sit here and say you write great books. You actually go out in the community and you hold seminars. You
Mhm.
hold podcasts. You're a philanthropist. I can't speak English. Th- How do you? It's the Italian in me.
You right.
Philanthropist.
Uh-huh. I'm like,
Sometimes I can say
"Wow." That's
I
a
can
big
say
word.
I can say stethoscope for the longest time. Um, but you go out and you raise money. I mean, you're doing
Mm.
all these uh, and great things for your community. Share a little bit about that. Why is that important to you?
Yeah. My dad always taught me that. So it's always been like a habit in our home. And he always would say, it's better to give than receive. It's better to give than receive. And he's so right. I mean, isn't that so true? Like when you give a gift to somebody, and I definitely know that my love language is not gifts, right? Because when someone gives me a gift, I love the fact that they even gave me a gift. I feel like they love me, of course, but it's like I don't need anything. We were talking about earlier, like we just throw all this stuff away, in the end. If you want to buy me something, buy me a Starbucks card. That makes me happy. Something that, just consume, right?
Yeah.
But he taught me that, and so that was always already instilled in me. But it gives you the highest of highs, right? And so we've had like the experience of being able to help people that could never lift a finger for us. And when you can do that, oh my gosh, like the feeling inside of you, just I can't explain it. It's way better than anything you could do, but way better than working out, even that we were talking about, right? And just when you can give something that someone cannot give in return, I can't get enough of it, Julio. I don't even know how to explain it to you, but I can't get enough. I'm always looking for who I can give. During COVID, I
Are you? Because I need some money.
yeah.
So
All right, let's
can
pass
you,
it on. Yeah, yeah. Whether it's time or your talents, and
please
during
feel free to give to me.
yeah, pass it on, pass it on. During COVID, for 2 weeks, I was so depressed and anxious. I realized I was doing all the things I shouldn't do. I'm watching the news, right? And I'm like, I got to do something. And so I just started looking on social media for people who needed stuff, like even GoFundMe pages, whatever people needed, right? I found this nonprofit. It was a single parents ministry, and I offered free coaching to them for 2 years, all during COVID. And that gave me the highest high because I'm like, wait a second, I can't really help a nonprofit right now because I travel too much, but I can like coach them. So I started coaching the executive team, right? And so God started to give me like all these creative things like, you can do this, you can do that, you can help here. The joy started returning, Julio, and I wasn't as anxious and stressed in that moment because I was like, what is happening to me? What? Like, this is not even like me to get stressed over this. And I was here in Florida, of course, during COVID, but the minute that I start to feel
No
stressed,
place to be
that's
during
when
COVID.
yeah, I was at a good place, right? We were on the boat. I felt kind of guilty, actually. I didn't post it on social media, right? But
You shouldn't feel guilty for
yeah,
enjoying and being out in the beauty that God has
yeah,
given us.
it
So,
was very
hey,
blessed. but that's what I'll do, Julio. So, and I still have moments. Like I still have moments of like I feel a little stressed. I feel a little anxious right now. Like this situation at work is making me like there's some crazy stuff going on these days, right? Is making me a little stressed. I'm like, okay, who could I focus on that I could help? And so I actually started coaching some graduates of ours for free that were really struggling. I was watching them on social media. I'm like, hey, how about I spend a little time with you. And so one I've been with, it's over a year and a half that I've been coaching either once a week or bi-weekly, kind of depending on my schedule. And I've watched that shift and that turnaround. And it's so beautiful to be able to watch that too.
Yeah, but Tina, it's funny you say you only been doing it for a year and a half. You lie because I know you,
Yeah.
and you and I have been coaching all our lives.
Yeah.
I know you and I know me. We pass by people and we don't pass them and not notice them.
Yeah.
And when we can tell and sense, and we take the time to say, and I know you do the same thing, is are you okay?
Hmm.
Can I do something for you?
Yeah.
And just taking the moment to say, are you okay? Opens that door. So you say you've been professionally coaching, I know, but I mean, I know you better than that. You haven't done it in a year and a half. You've been doing it for many years. Because
Hmm.
anytime, even me, you've coached me a few times, and I've been free to ask you questions, even about religion, because I still have questions. Your husband's been great, and we coach each other. But everybody you've passed in your life, I know you don't pass them without noticing if they need a hug, if they need a talk.
Hmm.
So I get what you're saying. Professionally, yes, you've been
Yeah.
taking the time to spend a little bit more time with
Yeah.
them, but you and I know we've been doing it for a very long time unconsciously. Just like you, I've had a girl write me during a seminar where I was just speaking about loving yourself.
Yeah.
And it was at one of our signature gatherings. And
Hmm.
I got a letter from her saying that that day she actually went to Vegas and won that trip on purpose because she was going to go get drunk, then commit suicide.
Hmm.
But
Wow.
a friend dragged her to the morning session that I was speaking on loving yourself.
Oh my gosh.
And she wrote me 5 years later and said she actually went there to take her life, but after hearing how valuable she was,
Yeah.
um, she now owns 5 salons. She's doing fantastic. She's filled me in on
Wow.
all the great things. So
Praise
if people
God.
would just take the time to what you're doing, even purposely, you've extended that coaching,
Hmm.
but you've always been a
Yeah.
coach to help other people. And people always say, "Well, how I don't have money to do that. I don't know how to coach." You know how to smile. You know how to say something nice.
And take the word coach out of it. It's really mentoring. It's really
Yeah,
just mentoring. It's just sharing. It's just being a listening ear. Some people just need you to listen to them, you know?
yeah, and you don't need money to give back. And
Mhm.
people say, "Give back." Forget give back. Just give,
Just give.
and don't expect back. You
No.
know? And that's what you do, and I admire that so much. So I had to call you out on that because you have been an inspiration
Thank you.
for so many years, and you're continuing to grow at it, where some people are
Mhm.
I get into moments, I'm gonna be honest with you, where I'm tired. Since 2020, I've worked really hard to help. I've worked really hard to get things going. Sometimes as it gets more woke and more crazy,
Mhm.
and more undefinable, uh,
Yeah.
in my world, I just some days I just wanna shut everybody out and
Yeah.
just give up, and say, "You know what? Y'all can go crazy. I really don't care."
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever felt that way or
January and February. I always tell people, listen, do not make any major decisions about your life in January and February. Like we're all acting weird during January and February, right? And like just don't quit a job. That's the biggest time I notice that our staff members quit is in January, February. There's something weird in the air in January and February, right? And but no, I agree that I have my moments. I don't be like for a minute and I just have to vent for a minute. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is my ministry. I'm in this business because I'm ministering to people who feel most of the time less than their worth. I mean, most people, let's be serious. I speak to so many
Sure.
groups. I speak to a lot of career men and women. I speak to our students, right? And most people have these moments of feeling because it's we're in our flesh like all the time because we are fleshly human beings, right? And
Right.
so we're spirit, soul, and body. And so sometimes our soul is just like deep in frustration or anxiety, fear. The core, the root of it is fear. Like, what am I fearing right now? So I have to kind of question myself. Am I afraid of losing it all? So what? What if I
Yeah.
do lose it all? You just start again. During COVID, I thought, Julio, there was that time I thought, what if we lose our schools? What if we lose
Mhm.
everything? We could lose our homes. And I'm like, so what? And I told my staff, I'm like, listen, we could lose it all. So what? Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to just build back up and start again because I'm supposed to do this. This is my ministry. Like when you find something that you're supposed to do that you can make money at that is a ministry, it's not something you're going to retire from because people always say to me, even family members, when are you going to retire? Tina, you're almost 60 years old. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, so I
You're
can,
almost 60?
yeah.
Get out of here, girl.
Like every other person in Florida, that's what they do. They come down here to Florida. I live on Marco Island. You can go to all of the bars and you see them all getting drunk, right, Julio? They're
Mhm.
retired. And like, I don't want that life.
Mm.
I was just talking to a student of mine. She's a dog sitter. And she said, yeah, I sit for this couple that retired from Ohio and I watch their dog because they like to go out and party. And she said to me, she said they party all night long. I'm like, wow, what an existence that is. Like that is such a sad existence. And so I literally I think it was about a year and a half ago, 2 years, I just quit drinking altogether because I was just like, I don't ever want my grandkids to see me even drinking, right? And so I was like, I have to make decisions on basis of what they might be doing, right? In their life. And so I really thought about that. And I am teaching a class right now. It's a Bible study on Monday nights, and it's mostly women. There's quite a few men in there too. And it's all on that. It's on what is your potential, because you got more potential in you. If you
Right.
look at a lot of people, like even I think it was Ray Kroc, Julio, with McDonald's, he was well into his 50s before he got that McDonald's franchise going, right? Colonel Sanders, what was he, 80? Right? You know,
That's so true.
yeah. And so
True.
there's more in you. There's more potential. Like keep growing, keep going. That's why I joined the John Maxwell team, Julio, 2013, because I was like, I know there's something more in me. I don't know exactly what it is. But getting around those people, as well as I do, that they
Yeah.
just start breathing life into you. And you're like, well, maybe I could do this. Oh,
It's one big oxygen tank.
yeah, thank you.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
gives you life. It really does. And even if you're just doing it for yourself, but I wouldn't have thought, I thought I was just doing it for myself. It turns out I was doing it for a lot of people. And I ended up starting all these new businesses, wrote more books, started 2 coaching companies, and my family's like, she's a maniac, like she's never gonna stop.
Well, don't stop being a maniac.
Yeah.
Listen, I hear you on the drinking. I think I did enough drinking and substance abuse in the 80s to last me forever. Um, but
Yeah.
I do see people like that every day that are waking up from a heavy night of drinking.
Yeah.
Uh, Obviously, they're trying to deal with life.
Right.
But I look at them and I remember how I felt, and I am so grateful that I don't drink or do drugs,
Mhm.
or because it never put me in a great spot. And there are people who tell you they don't want help, but they really do. So I'm glad that you're out there doing that kind of work, and you just keep going, and it gives you a purpose. I think that's what your thing is you have a purpose every day. A lot of people
Yeah.
don't have a purpose, so they're like, what do I need to get up for? Why do I need to go to work? Why do I need to have a job? And you're right, January and February, people do go nuts. But lately, it's like, we hire somebody, they'll fill out all the paper. They may not show up, or they may show up,
Mhm.
or they might work for an hour and say, I didn't know I had to stand. I quit.
Yeah.
It's
Oh yeah.
no plans. So they,
Yeah.
because a lot of people live at home with their parents. And I think that all starts there too,
Mhm.
is we mimic a lot of what, not all parents, but we mimic a lot of what our parents do, or
Right.
our friends, to belong. Um, but they don't give them a purpose. They fight for them when they even know they're wrong. And they don't help them or encourage them. And thank God there are people out there who do that. But I do think it all starts at home.
It does. Yeah, leadership starts at home. And for the most part, I notice, when we are coaching maybe a student of ours that's really struggling, and I look within and think it's probably something going on at home. It could even be something with their parents, it could be something with their spouse or significant other, their children. I start to look at that as a whole person, like what's going on, on a scale of 1 to 10, how's your personal life? And so that's immediately I'll go there and all of a sudden tears start to flow. And so that's why they can't follow through with our standards, so to speak, right? And our companies. And the same thing as our staff. And I look back, yeah, you're right. I'm struggling with my marriage right now. And I'll sit back and I'll just listen. Hey, you know what, we're here for you. That's why we started offering, I know you did too, counseling services for our staff members, counseling services for our students, because we have realized it's a different climate right now happening. There was like a mess just happened in our whole country, right? On people's psyche. And I think it's a blessing in disguise, to be honest, Julio, because I think it exposed some roots of some trauma that's been there all along, that I think it just exposed those roots just real quick. And so we have an opportunity right now to really minister to a lot of people. Open your eyes, because you have an opportunity to speak life into somebody, just like people did for me. So many, like Julio's did for me, spoke life into me. And so you could be that person for somebody else and help them realize how, because guess what? You're a human being, you are valuable.
Yeah, but a lot of people think if I do that, Tina, they'll think I'm being pushy. They think I'm trying to push God onto them. They think I'm trying to, it almost is like a vampire, somebody coming up to a vampire with a cross. They all of a sudden start to burn, and it's like, you're going to speak God to me. Oh
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
I'm burning it, and the person who wants to speak it, they're actually burning with the cross in their hand too, because the fear
Yeah.
of opening someone's eyes, and whether it be ministry, God, or just life in general, are
Mhm.
afraid to talk to people. And there's a few reasons why since 2020. First of all,
Yeah.
people are scared of religion because they think they're going to have to change their lives. They
Right.
got to behave, right? It's
Right.
like, well, that's common sense. We all have to
Yeah.
behave. We shouldn't kill anybody. Um, you know, uh,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
It's
or
interesting.
just giving a few words of wisdom. You're afraid that even if you say, hey Tina, it's okay, or whatever, they're afraid of being sued. And Glenn and I were talking about this earlier. Every billboard we see is a lawyer. So people are afraid to help because
Those
they're
darn
afraid.
lawyers.
Yeah, those dang lawyers. Their husband's a lawyer, but he's a good lawyer. He's a good lawyer. We were talking about good lawyers, especially when we need them.
There's good ones
But
and bad ones.
Well, you know what? Everybody's afraid of being sued or saying the wrong thing, uh,
Mhm.
or the wrong verbiage. I mean, I've gotten to the point, and I don't know if you've gotten to the point where I'm like, I don't care anymore. What I care about is you.
Yeah.
How can I help you? How can I love you?
That's it.
How can I hug
That's
you? And if you're going to sue me, go ahead and sue me.
it. Mhm.
I just want you to know you're loved, and I'm here for you. You know.
Exactly.
And if you don't want to hug, just let me know. I don't want to hug. Just give me a smile.
Yeah.
But if you smile at somebody, people are afraid they're going to get sued because harassment. They're smiling at me. It's a crazy, crazy world. But it takes people like you and I and other people, like everybody we meet at Maxwell or Paul Mitchell. They've got this great culture and this great sense of wanting to help. And let's face it, every organization has a couple bad apples.
Yeah.
It is what it is,
I think you hit the nail on the head. And it's really just seriously just listening. You don't have to go in with the cross. Yeah, you don't have to go in with an agenda of I'm going to get them saved. No, there's absolutely no agenda.
Throw holy water on them. Yeah.
Even the student that I was telling you about a year and a half ago that I've been coaching him, he's an atheist and he tells me so. And That's okay. I still love you. Like, I'm
Yes.
here for you. And all I want to know is, how are you? Like, really, how are you? Like, how can I help? What do you see? What does support look like from me? That's it. Like, just asking them and just listening on a scale of 1 to 10. All during COVID, I did this with my students, right? And I did this with my staff. I would get on the Zoom, and I still do this to this day. Whenever I'm checking in, I do a check in, and I just like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you really? And everyone put their number inside of the chat. And I'm looking for anything that's below like that 9, right? And so I'm thinking, okay, we got to go in. And so I have my whole team, like the leaders, watching to see if anyone's dropping below 9, because let's do a one-on-one check-in at this point. You know, we need to be constantly looking to see who needs us right now, who needs us all the time as a leader. Like, that's all they care about. Do they really care about me? If they don't feel that they're cared for, they're gone. So every time I lose a staff member, Julie, I'm thinking, oh, dang it, what did we do? What did we miss? Like, how did we miss this? Like, what's going on? You know, we let a good one go. Go back and get them. Run and chase them down, tackle them down, and say, you can't leave, you know. And so I learn from those too, the ones that leave, and students that drop, I learn from those.
Yeah. Well, life is always a learning journey, isn't it?
It
You
is.
know.
Yeah,
Uh,
sometimes
e-
you
e-
win, sometimes you learn, right?
exactly. And you spoke about that earlier, where you talked about, what if we did lose everything?
Yeah,
You
so
know,
what?
people that
So what?
have strong faith, yes, it's gonna hurt, just like you
Mhm.
lost your first boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
hurts, but you can pick back up. There's so many things that you can do, and I remember even when I was a young man having a salon, the guy, he actually helped set up FedEx, and he was a New Yorker, put his arms around me, and he says, "How come you don't have a bunch of these?" I go, "Well, it takes money, and what if I lose all the?" He says, "What if you lost everything right now? What would happen?" I said, "Oh, I just get behind the chair and build up a clientele again and start doing hair." He puts his arm around me and real loud goes, "What the blank are you waiting for?" He
Yes,
goes, "You know how to start over.
yes.
You're not made to live out into the streets.
Mm-mm.
And if you were, you'd have a hell of a tent. I know you would."
Yep. Oh
And I
yeah.
was like,
Oh
"Wow,
yeah.
yeah, you're right. There's nothing to be scared of, because if we were scared, we would never leave.
Yeah.
Um,
And
our
you know,
places."
Julio, I think part of that too is there's one word that we have in our mind, that in our vocabulary, and everyone needs this one word. It's ask.
Mm.
ASK. Just ask. Ask for help. And I always tell people, listen, people who are truly successful, like truly successful, they want to help. So all you got to do is ask. Like that animal level awareness level, right? That's where people believe that they can't ask for help. They're just in
And
their misery.
there's nothing wrong with asking, right? You're not
Nothing
going to be.
wrong.
y- y-
No.
y- Some people are afraid of looking stupid, but if you don't ask,
Yeah,
you will always be in a stupor because you won't know. And I
exactly.
like to ask a lot of whys.
Yes.
I'm like a little kid. Why? Why? Why?
Hmm.
I aggravate people. Uh, but in all this, you are amazing in coaching and writing books and helping others. Do you have a coach?
You know, Julie, I have a lot of coaches. So
Uh,
I hire a ton of people. So depending on that moment and season of what I need. So I have a business coach right now. I have actually two of them. And then I also have a personal trainer coach because I really needed her to kick me in the butt. And I have a nutrition coach right now because I really need her to kick me in the butt too. Right. And so I'm just constantly going to where my pain points are. My husband and I, all during COVID, actually, we had a marriage counselor, so coach, right? Just to make sure, like a checkup, just make sure we're doing good. Like even like do it before you start to falter. And so I think that's so important. Like, what do you have any pain points, like any anxiety, any stress? Then get a coach or a counselor. And coach can kind of tell you like, okay, I think you need a counselor and a coach, because a counselor is someone who kind of goes back into the past, right, to help heal the root of that symptom. But a coach is helps you to move forward. I need both, Julio. Like I can't just have a counselor because I need that coach because I'm a move forward kind of person. I'm highly driven. I know probably everyone listening to this podcast of Giulio is highly driven, just like Giulio. I'm sure you are. That's
And you are driven. Girl, my heart is beating 1,000 miles per hour when you're speaking because you got so much energy. I want whatever you're on. And I think that's just
same
life.
with you. I know it is. It's just getting around the right people that are full of energy too, right, Julio? Because
Oh,
I don't want to
mm,
be around energy drainers, the Debbie Downers of the world. Like, okay, I'll love you from a distance. Trust me, I'm here for you. How can I help
mhm.
you? The Wendy Whiners, but not for too long, right?
No, they
I'm
just
here to
wanna
help.
be a victim. They just wanna be a victim. No
Right.
matter what you say, it doesn't matter. They just want the sympathy of being the victim. And you're
Yes.
right. And I'll be honest with you, people think we've got it all together.
Right.
And I have coaches too. Everybody needs a coach.
Everybody.
I also have a therapist
Yeah.
because I realized during the COVID, I lost myself
Yeah.
uh, quite a bit. And these podcasts, which are fun, it's starting to help me a little bit more come out of my shell again because I forgot how to communicate. I forgot how to have fun.
Hmm.
Um, I, I I loved learning, but I stopped doing that just for a little bit because but it depressed me. So I got a therapist.
Yeah.
I said, I know the difference between a coach and a therapist.
Hmm.
And it's time for me to see a therapist, not because I'm going to hurt myself or whatever, but I got to dig in deep and find what the funk is that's
Yeah.
also pulling me back while I'm trying to push forward. Um,
All the time. You got to watch yourself like a hawk. I mean, you really do. I'm always watching myself like a hawk, and I'm always thinking, okay, is there anyone in my life, and especially myself, that I'm not forgiving? Right? It always goes back to that. Is that what's causing this fear and anxiety? Is that what's causing this stress? And like, because you can't just go through it and like numb it down with medication. You got to get to the root of it. Like, watch yourself like a hawk. And when you start to do that, all of a sudden, things start to shift. And I'm telling you, laughter is the best medicine,
oh my
Julia.
God, it
I'm
is, isn't
so
it?
glad you're doing that. Even when I'm with my personal trainer, she knows she's working me too hard. You know when she knows? When I start laughing. She's like,
Yes.
okay, like let's move on to the next because
You know, I
I'm
used to get
hurt
in
so
trouble for that, Tina. I used to get in trouble for being a clown and making people laugh. And I think that's what stifled
unbelievable.
me. And it's like, no, dang it. I want people to laugh. I want
Yeah,
them. And I have one line rippers, and you know that because I do it
yeah.
with everybody. And it's not like I rehearse at home, like, what joke am I going to tell somebody today? Uh, I just want to see that, like your smile. I just want to see
Uh-huh.
that smile.
Yeah,
I want to know that it makes you happy. We could probably go
I
on
know.
and
It's
on,
fun.
and I love talking to you, and like I said, you know, there's no shame in knowing you have a fault and getting help for it. There's no shame. Listen,
Absolutely.
guys, I have
Mhm.
faults. I'm getting help. I take medication too. But here's the thing, thank God for some Volta.
Health
Mm.
and medication.
But you know, I also noticed too that turning back to my faith, turning back to the gym, just like you, and turning to friends like you again, and speaking today. This wasn't an interview; it was a conversation
Hmm.
with Tina, my friend,
Hmm.
who's going to lift me up, and I know she's inspired many of you out there. Where can we get your books, by the way?
Oh, just go to tinablack.net and you click on shop, and they're right inside there. So it'll be shipped directly by me. I am the shipping
That's
department.
tinablack.net. And hey, Tina, would you sign their book?
I absolutely will. I absolutely will sign your book. So, yep, just order them and I'll sign it for you.
Now, what if they would want a Tina Black in their life? Because here you are, this young girl who's about to commit suicide. You were a dental hygienist, and then all of did I say that right?
Yep, you
Dental
did. You
hygienist.
did good.
Hey, how's my teeth, Tanya? But here's the
Gorgeous,
thing:
gorgeous.
all of a sudden, you shifted your life, became this entrepreneur, this woman of great faith, this woman of coaching, and taking on, you know, the biggest obstacles that most people would just crawl in the corner. um I just I don't know where I was going with that, but I just had to say it.
And
I
I
just
have to
didn't
give
hear it.
kudos to my husband on that one because he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And so sometimes your potential is brought out by other people. And so you got to listen to the people around you that believe in you and believe in the next you, not just the previous you, the past you, but the next you.
Yeah. Well, I remembered now what I was gonna say. Here's the thing, I've been watching my mom for a month now, and she's got dementia, and
I
it's
saw
true when you hang with someone, you start to be by the time we get done talking, I don't know what the hell I'm saying, I don't know what the hell she's saying, but we're having a good time, okay? But
Oh,
what I wanted to say is any young ladies that have taken your kinda journey or not, or even just successful, we still need a coach. So
yeah,
how can and most, or, peop I have to say, women sometimes would like to speak to another woman because they can understand each other. And I yes, I said it, woman. There's such thing as a woman
yeah,
that can speak to another woman.
that's right.
Okay. And you know, where can they get your services? Where can they get your coaching? Where can they get your love?
Yeah, I always do for anyone. It does entrepreneurs or future entrepreneurs. If you want to get some coaching from me, just go to tinablack.net. You can press contact, and that'll go right directly to my email. And we'll just set up an intake, and we'll just share. You can share what you need, and if I'm not the right coach for you, I trust me. We know thousands of coaches in the Maxwell
Mhm.
leadership team, and I mostly refer quite a few people out for coaching, especially if I don't think that I can help you. And so I usually do a minimum of 4 sessions with people. I love to do the DISC personality test assessment because I'm a DISC coach as well as the emotional intelligence assessment. So it's combined now that I just finished that course. And so I've been doing that with all of my staff, all of my coaching clients. I mostly coach salon leaders, but I have coached entrepreneurs. I'm coaching an entrepreneur right now that's a realtor right now as well too. So, but usually it's salon people in the
Oh,
salon business.
that's great. And so it's tinablack.net.
Tina
Get in
Black.
touch with her, and she's wonderful to speak with, and she's a great listener, and you have tons of knowledge and wisdom to share with so many. And I hope they do get in touch with you. Or I hope they even at least just pick up your book. But I have one last question for you. If you were to write a book that said, be anybody you want, but be you, what would be its main point?
Being yeah, just exactly what I was talking about with being a disc personality, because you were designed perfectly and wonderfully, by the way. And so if you have to keep
Well, thank you.
yourself that in the mirror, right? So perfectly and wonderfully. It took me a lot of years to actually believe that, right? And so your personality was formed. Stop looking at other people's personality and wanting that personality, right? God gave you a very specific personality. And so what I do is I help people to see the strengths. I have them focus fully on their strengths. When I work with my coaching clients, I work with my staff, Giulio, for the first year, it's only on their strengths. And then we'll start to look at some of your blind spots after that and start walking through that as well too. But when you lean into your strengths, like amazing things happen. In fact, those blind spots kind of a little bit take care of themselves when you really fully focus on your strengths.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And I love you. And unfortunately, I know it. I want you to stick around a little bit afterwards. I just want to chat with you.
Little green
But I
room.
want to tell everybody that, thank you for watching today. And I hope you got a lot out of today. I know I'm annoying, but you could put up with me for a little bit. But Tina has been very inspirational.
You're amazing.
And I love your smile. Keep smiling, keep picking up lives, and keep joining us. And Tina, I'd love to have you back and talk some more about great things that are happening. But thank you
Thanks,
for
Julio.
being on, and we'll talk soon.
I appreciate you.
Right? You guys have a great day. I appreciate you too. So. Notice how I keep looking back at the screen. You're supposed to look at the camera.
Uh-huh.
Tina, I appreciate you. And I appreciate all of you who are watching today. Thanks and have a great day.